What's up, guys? Chimp here with another quick market update. Um, we'll see if we can keep this one on the shorter side, but just quickly want to talk about Bitcoin, sort of where we're at, and what I'm thinking in terms of risks, and um, sort of give my short-term outlook and then sort of my midterm outlook as well. And okay, let's first start by just looking at the Nasdaq. And again, this is why I don't try to make predictions on stocks or anything like that because look, the Nasdaq dumped as low as 16,400, and it's basically retraced this entire like Liberation Day. When was it? April 2nd or something. Like it's trading higher than it was on Liberation Day, right? So like, what's the? Again, I've sort of made this point, but I'm just gonna keep sort of bashing the drums here, which is this this like trying to predict what indices are gonna do is like an impossible game, and it's not worth trying to play it. And I've seen so many times over the last like 5 years, 10 years, where someone tries to call like this is the end of the stock market, bull market, which look at some point, like in terms of real spending power, like it's gonna have to be sort of the end, right? But there's been so many like people trying to call the top, and every time it's sort of failed. Now, have we topped? Maybe, right? But I don't know. And so there's no really big reason to try and predict this. Okay, now let's talk about Bitcoin because I think Bitcoin is pretty interesting. And if you guys remember my last videos, um, especially once we pumped to like 92, I sort of had this bullish bias. And the bullish bias is because I said, hey, we've been going down for 3 months. Everything looks super deleveraged. And it's going to take time for people to reposition into this market. Like, yes, you have some people that were long from 86 or 84, but like, actually when we looked at open interest, it looked like those longs basically exited here, right? Like basically on the first sign of like any sort of trouble, like whoever was left long kind of puked, and the market was super deleveraged. And so like in order for the market to be able to go down, you need people to hunt. And when there's no one to hunt, like the base case is chop or grind up. And that's basically what we've had happen. And so the question is like, where do we sit now? And where are we going now? I think it's a little bit harder to say. Um, and I'll present sort of my reasoning for both cases. We've been here since April 23rd. It's now May 2nd, so about 10 days or so. So people have had a chance to start building positioning, and we've also gotten some quite shallow dips, right? Like, basically you've been rewarded for buying any micro dip, which is sort of the behavior that you want to see to start like getting positions that are huntable. Um, so I'll just sort of lay out the quick bullish and bearish cases, and I'm not going to make like a prediction on what's going to happen. Um, my sort of opinion here is it's foolish to be on margin. But so what are like the bullish cases and what are the bearish cases? So okay, bullish case here, I think pretty straightforward. Number one, we're coming off 3 months of suppression. Anyone who wanted to sell has been able to sell. Like we had the cleanest bounce off of like high time frame support that you've ever seen, right? In terms of this like 74K level. And so like the sort of the capitulation has happened, and now the market's gonna go up. And like sometimes it's just that clean, right? Sometimes it is just that clean. And what adds to this bull case? Well, let's just go one by one, like through a couple points. And obviously this isn't all of them. Like here's one of them, right? So ETF flows. People always panicked about the ETF, blah blah blah. Like ETF flows are basically reaching record highs, like are very close, right? Like $1 billion off. And so, look, I don't know. Tomorrow could this dip back down or whatever? I don't know. But like when you extrapolate the trend and you think logically about what the ETF is doing, like it makes a lot of sense that over time AUM is going to continue to increase in these products. And so that is like a natural source of buying. That's one source of buying, which is these ETFs accumulating like billions and billions and billions of dollars of Bitcoin. Second, you have like these sort of low to mid-term like Ponzi-nomics going on, one of which is like Saylor, right? So you have Saylor coming in, and now he's like doubling his Bitcoin targets. MicroStrategy stock is doing fine. Like I haven't looked where it's at today, but MicroStrategy is doing totally fine. And this guy's just slamming more and more money in. He's finding creative ways of getting money and just buying more Bitcoin. And so it's like when you have a known buy, like you know, when you have a known buyer in the market and you know this guy has to buy, like why fight it, right? The same thing in reverse. Like if you know someone's gonna have to liquidate 100,000 Bitcoin or 150,000 Bitcoin, like why fight that selling? If you know someone's gonna have to buy, like he technically doesn't have to buy, but like the guy is like so zealous in his beliefs that he's gonna buy, right? So like we know billions are gonna come from Sailor as well. Like why fight these flows? And so like you have some quite bullish reasons to be bullish, which is just like reflexivity to such an extreme. And yeah, at some point Sailor's gonna have to slow down. Like if Bitcoin were to have, he wouldn't be able to do what he's able to do now. But like we're not at that stage, right? And so you kind of have to trade the market in terms of like where we're at and what's going on, rather than like being mad at what you're seeing. Like what's the old saying? Would you rather be right or would you rather make money? And so when you think of it from that perspective, like okay, like you have these mega flows coming in. You like they're basically telegraphed, right? Like Sailor is not sneaking in and buying 15,000 Bitcoin and then another 15,000 and another 15,000 and then like 3 months later he announces that he bought a ton. Like no, he's like literally buying and auto announcing, and so his ability to buy is like actually based on Bitcoin going up, and so like it's this reflexive loop, and there seems to be no sign of it slowing. So, and by the way, it's not just Sailor, right? You have like these copycats, like some of these miners that did it, like that Semler, if I'm not mistaken. You have the Cantor Group launching their own like vehicle. So like you have all these reasons to be bullish, like mid time frame. And so like okay, now let's talk a little about what the reasons are to be bearish. And I think the main one that I can come up with, by the way, this is one other reason to potentially be bullish. Funding rates are getting more negative. So so let's go and look at open interest. Open interest is up a ton today. And if you remember, one of my sort of criteria for potentially being a bit more cautious was open interest going up. But the reason like it is a concern, I think there's a chance that we flush it and we get something that goes like this. Maybe not this deep, but like you get some sort of flush, let's just say. The reason I'm a little less concerned about it than I would normally be is you have like funding rates actually getting more negative. So I'm kind of wondering like, are people trying to short or front run 100K? And I just don't know how much supply is left to sell. Like, again, this is why like mid time frame, like I just have to be bullish. Like, people have had months to sell, right? Who is the marginal seller that like didn't sell at 105, didn't sell at 100, didn't sell at 90, didn't sell at 80, like didn't sell on the bounce from 74 to 85? Like, there's all these chances they had to sell, but like all of a sudden at 96, like everyone decide, like all these people who are sidelined and didn't sell decide to sell. Like, it seems not that likely, and so like I feel like the chips are stacked in our favor. And yeah, like open interest is up. That was one of my criteria. So I think like if you're like trying to measure risk here in terms of like how risky is it to hold along, definitely riskier than it was a week ago, right? But we can look at some other stuff, right? Like let's look at alts, right? Like have alts done much in the last week? Like no, like Solana is basically flat, like it's stuck at 150. Bartcoin, yeah, it's up a bit, but it's like basically stuck at like 120. Other alts, are basically flat again. Like you look at ETH or whatever. I'm not going to pull up the charts. You look at Trump, like Trump is down. So all these coins are like basically like even like really strong runners like Sui, right? Like Sui ran all the way to 380. It's still at like at 340 or whatever. So I don't know. To me, when I look at the market, like I just think the odds are probably still stacked in the case of being bullish. I think there's a chance you get some sort of flush or flow slowing down, and then like this open interest flushes. Um, maybe the thing I would say is like one thing that would get me concerned is if we start getting back to like 94, because then you start having like people who bought the dip, like there might not be as much capital waiting to buy the dip at that price. So if this thing starts to like start sliding and starts getting to like 94, 90, like sub 94, like starts getting close to these lows, that could lead to a potential flush. So anyways, just wanted to give a quick update. I think we're at an interesting spot. Definitely the market's more difficult than it was $20,000 lower. But I would say don't rush. Like my general feeling is don't rush to just short this thing because it's pumped. Sometimes the way this market has been operating, like it's been more reflexive than it is like mean reversion-y at times. So, anyways, sort of my 2 cents. If you guys enjoy it, as always, like, subscribe. If you have any questions, comment, or if you have any feedback, comment. Love to hear it. So, thank you guys, and until next time, take care.